Mrs. Lee, where were you born and raised? Tell me about your family, parents, husband, children, family.
Okay.
Bethlehem.
Well, then, it's strange. We're sitting not far from where I was born. I was born here in Bethlehem, number one, and I was born on Columbia Street. As I've been thinking recently, that I don't think I was born in hospital, so I may have been born at home. But Columbia Street, and my parents were from the South, North Carolina. It's just odd that they both came on trains at different times,
Oh,
but
boy.
coming to relatives here in Bethlehem.
Oh my goodness.
This is like in the 20s.
Wow.
So I've been here a long time.
Yes, yes. You know what I tell people? I've been here 100 years. You know.
Yeah, and I've been here almost just about
But
100.
you've been here
90
just
years.
about.
I've been here 90 years.
Yes, yes.
I'm
yes.
proud of it.
Yes,
Yes,
that's
yes.
wonderful.
Yes.
And your husband, how,
Yeah, my husband and his family have been here since the late 1800s. Right there on Cherokee Street.
yes,
In fact, a home was built.
yes.
It was notably either the first or the second home built on Cherokee Street.
Yes.
According to our records.
Okay.
According to city
There-
records, you never, the destruction of records, that's
Yes.
always part of the equation.
I learned about that.
Yes, yeah. But as far as we know, it's transmitted by the family. The house we're in right now is a part of one of the two that's built there on Cherokee. And that was Fountain Hill in those days.
Wow.
So, things transition. But that's where we are.
And your children?
Yeah, my children, both were born from Cherokee Street.
Okay. Yeah.
It's ironic. We're
In a hospital.
yes, in the hospital, though. This time in the hospital.
Yeah.
Transitioning for us as a people,
Yes.
that was an accomplishment.
Yes. Yes.
Because as racism was a part of the time that I was born into. So,
Yes.
but we're happy for the situations as they are.
Yes. Yes. And grandchildren.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And our grandchildren are prospering. Although the same formula exists, educated in Bethlehem and then have to go away,
They're away.
to make their livelihood.
Yes, yes.
We're still fighting that cause.
Tell me about your children and your involvement in Madison School and how that perpetuated you to the city.
Yes,
Yes.
I've had an interesting life as a young colored, black, or African American. But while the children are enrolled in Madison School, as a part of the Bethlehem Area School District, we found that there was just a bit of what seemed to me as racism and learning. Education has always been very important to me, and on several situations, teachers got confused and felt and forgot that they were teaching, and started to funnel information about children going back to Africa. And I had my time with them and the principal in correcting such language
Yes.
and
yes,
teaching experiences.
Yes.
But with the parent-teacher group, other parents that were a part of that school at that time, I found that in discussions we came together and we started something, and we made our PTA one of relevance. And I became president of the local PTA, which was detrimental
To that.
to them. Nor did I know that I'd been kind of crafted out in this role.
Okay.
But we went through, and I became president of the city PTA,
Oh, of
which
the
was all the
city
PTAs in the
PTA.
city. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
And-
oh my goodness.
And it was through them that they decided, for reasons of education and getting direction to correction,
Yes.
that I should run for office.
That is a wonderful
It
story.
was an experience.
That was
Yes,
wonderful.
yes.
You were a parent
Yes.
of children at Madison School,
Yes.
and then you were propelled to the presidency of
Yeah.
the city
All
organization.
the parents.
That's a wonderful
Can you imagine?
story. Yeah.
But I think nobody ever thinks of the magnitude
Yes.
of that situation.
Yes, yes.
You know, because I was propelled by,
That's a major story.
and this is,
in
and this is a
Bethlehem.
white town,
Yes. Oh, yes.
heavily Caucasian.
I must say, when we were at Madison School, there were only 5 black children in the whole school.
Uh-huh.
But myself, my sister, my brother, and another sister and brother, you know, and there were all kinds of dynamics
Yes,
there,
yeah.
which we will not discuss at
It-
this
it-
point.
it does. But you know, my
But I know what
mother-in-law,
you're talking
my
about.
mother-in-law, you know, their family,
Yeah.
because she was one of 9.
Okay,
So all those children were educated. I
Bethlehem?
believe they were educated.
yes.
Clara was actually a graduate of what was called the Southside High School.
And this is your mother-in-law's
My-
sister.
My mother-in-law's sister, 1918.
Okay.
She was a graduate of this
Oh.
Southside High School.
Okay.
She was to be the valedictorian. And because she was colored, as they called this in those days, they would not allow her to present.
Now, this
her
is a
message.
story in Bethlehem that is never told.
Never been told.
No.
But recently, when we were adjusting ourselves in living conditions, coming from one location to another, my daughter found the document, the actual document which has been preserved
Oh, my goodness.
since 1918,
Oh, my goodness.
readable.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and we found that, and to find that she was denied, you know,
I hope
right-
that document is in the Esther and Lee.
oh, we've got that
African
covered.
American.
We've got that covered.
Yes. It's
You know,
never
it's-
written.
No stories have ever, you know, Bethlehem itself has
Well,
never
no.
recognized or admitted to its racial
Yes.
concerns.
Yes,
And,
yes.
and so, you know, I think that's why it's important that we are able to sit down and discuss this openly,
Yes.
because somehow the city has never felt committed to owning up,
Yes.
in all honesty, to just how it really is.
That is a fabulous story.
Yes, yes. And I think stories like this ought to be told.
Some of your community involvement. Firstly, you are the president, you're present president of the Bethlehem branch of the NAACP.
Yes,
Past president of the Church Women United.
yes.
Past president of the board of the Girls Club of Bethlehem.
Yes.
Past president of the Northampton County Council of Republican Women.
Yes.
Past chairman of the Northampton County Human Relations Advisory Council. And past chairman of the Bethlehem City Republican Committee. And of course, you are the former school director, the first one elected African-American for the Bethlehem Area School District.
That's true. I've served in many capacities
Yes,
and
yes,
enjoyed every one of them.
yes.
And I think it was a way for people to kind of recognize us as a people.
Yes.
But it's difficult. You can't recognize all the people through one person.
Isn't that the truth?
I think that, you know, in all of our goings and comings in the city, I give them credit for trying. But there's a lot of work to be done.
There's a lot to be desired.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And education is key. And we've got some problems that we need to own up to and deal with right now. Our special ed programs, we wouldn't have that lopsided program in our system if everybody would sit down and address the facts of what's going on.
Okay.
We are, as NACP, we are communicating with our administrators, but I don't think they recognize, or they recognize it, and they put before it costs.
Oh, yes.
Our representatives
Yes.
aren't, as you know, they're not owning up to situations as they ought to.
Okay.
Everybody's concerned about just keeping their job.
Yes.
And you know, if they want to run for an office, be able to, you know, take under consideration just what the needs of the people are.
Absolutely.
We've got a ways to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just quickly before we wrap up here, you are a Christian woman,
I try.
and oh my goodness, I could talk for a half hour about all your church activities.
Yes.
But I'll just name 2. Financial secretary of Second Baptist Church, and you were the youth choir director there for many years. And my brother and sister and I know that well. So what do you say about your Christian work?
You know, as I think back fondly, you know, I was 5 years old when I was introduced to Second Baptist Church in their summer vacation Bible school program. And then just, you know, going through with Ms. Eva Strong there directing us, you know, I was just pleased. Part of my clerical acceptance into the world, because there were no jobs for clerical people after graduation, but I found that at Second Baptist Church, I was elected to my first job
Yes.
as the financial secretary.
In fact, many African Americans get their experience
That's right.
in church.
That's right.
Yes.
And I can
I'm one.
attest to that. I can attest to
Yeah, I
that.
can too.
And I think the people...
That teaches you to go out into the world.
You know what it was I found? And I think about it every day. It was like a gap between... I was 18 years old. You know, I had just graduated.
Yeah.
And that was my place of solace, because where else could I go? Young black woman, female, there was no other place for us. And so I wanted to stay in the confines. I felt safe
Yes.
in the Christian church.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, you know, that to me is, and that's why I continued in that venture with the young people. I found a place in directing. It's not that I was a genius, but I enjoyed singing and training
Close to it.
and strengthening and strengthening our young people.
Yes.
Yes.
Close to it.
Yeah, but that was very rewarding.
And then, in the meantime, you did work. You had
Oh, yeah.
occupations outside of your home
Yes.
to help your husband and raise your family.
Yes.
And one of the jobs was with the Bethlehem Mines.
Yes.
So you're a steel worker.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, well, and that was interesting, you know, because I think even the Bethlehem Steel, with Bethlehem Mines, which was a coal producer, in a subsidiary of Bethlehem Steel, you still had the action of working with other steel workers. But I don't think even the steel company was ready for us as people.
Okay, I wondered about that.
No, because I ran into certain personalities, but they were very careful, I think, in those days, because they didn't want suits. Because we were under federal watch, so to speak. You know.
Yes.
So,
That's right.
but I imagine that there was accomplished just having one or two of us around.
That was the
But we were on
point
watch all the time.
in I think it was 74.
Yeah, yes. When they
They
signed the decree, that
Yes.
they had to hire us like we were a pack of pigs.
Yes.
You know, I've always been amused at how we as a people have been treated. And today, even as 90 years old, I tell you, I'm full of fire today as I was when I was 18.
How about that?
I ran for city council. You know, I think this is an
That's-
addendum that needs to be put in the books.
Yes.
Because who ever heard of somebody running 6 times
Yes.
and defeated each time?
Yes.
But all it meant was that people have not accepted us as a people.
Okay.
And that annoyed me, and my fight has always been civil rights.
Yes.
I have always felt that
Okay.
I had a place in life and in a place in Bethlehem, and so did my children.
And you were determined.
I was determined, yes, but I found that we were not an accepted people. You know, I find today I call us a dismissed people.
What would you advise black young people today? That's my final question.
Yeah, but I think, you know, we really need parents, young black parents, to take up, you know, go back home, take time with your children, eat dinner with them.
This is true.
Don't give them a plate,
This is true.
you know. Sit down, discuss the day's activities. That's what we did. We didn't have a lot of money, but dinner time was always 6 o'clock. Wherever everybody was, 6 o'clock, you came home, and we sat down at the table and discussed what day's activities. If things bothered them, you could get it off your chest, if you had a chest. But, you know, but I
Yes.
advise parents, you know, we've got to come together,
So that's interesting. You would advise the parents
yes,
uh,
to take control.
to take control.
Right now, the children have control.
Oh, boy.
You know, and we can see that in everyday life where, you know, there's so much violence.
Well, thank you very much. That is a very interesting comment. Right now, the children have Control.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your interview.
Thank you for listening.